We've got CBS News correspondent Jerika Duncan outside the courtroom in Norristown, Pennsylvania, and also here on set. We've got Ricky Kleeman, CBS News legal analyst. Ricky, those statements referring to race baiting, referring to Kavanaugh, referring to tampering evidence, falsifying evidence, was that helpful?
No. And the reason it isn't helpful is this. Mr. Cosby's lawyer are going to go forward to try to get him out on bail from an appellate court pending appeal, and then, of course, he has the appeal itself. Going to this level, this is not the first time that Andrew Wyatt has raised the issue of race and other issues that he's brought up today. This does not help you with judges in how they look at the case. They want to look at the case dispassionately and about the law. They don't want to hear that this is a racially motivated prosecution where evidence has been tampered with. There was such a fallout about Andrew Wyatt's comments after the first trial that Mike McMonigal, the first trial ends in a hung jury, Mike McMonigal, who defended Bill Cosby to a hung jury, and was one of the great criminal defense lawyers in Pennsylvania, if not the United States. He reportedly had a falling out with Mr. Wyatt, as then the result was that there were new lawyers that were chosen for trial number 2, who also may have had differences with Mr. Wyatt. There is often a tension between the PR move and the legal move, and in this case, they need some legal relief, and they need it now. And this is not the time to be raising those issues from my personal standpoint.
I want to bring in Jerika Duncan, who is just outside the courthouse. Jerika, what more can you tell us about the details of the sentencing?
Well, I was able to attend that bail hearing, sentencing argument, and the judge again denied bail. So Mr. Cosby on his way to the county correctional facility, Montgomery County Correctional Facility. Also want to give you a little bit of a sense of what was going on inside during the decision that the judge made as it pertains to the bail. I got a chance to speak to a number of the women who testified at the second trial, and I asked one of them, they were all standing together, and I asked them, how do you feel right now? And one woman said, I don't know how to feel. It hasn't quite sunk in yet. Another woman told me she wanted to see him in handcuffs and, quote, I wanted to see the boogeyman go away. I then saw Andrea Constant with her family. I had tried to get a quick question in before she left and said, how are you all feeling right now? Before they could answer, Janice Dickinson, as you recall, another person who testified in that second trial, said vindicated. We feel vindicated. But such an emotional day. I was listening again to what the defense is arguing, or representatives for Mr. Cosby, for Bill Cosby, excuse me, and very interesting to hear them say that an online publication put something out a few days ago, and essentially that is what they are going to now make a new argument about, that this recording was doctored and it was an illegal recording. But as far as it pertains to the people out here, when it comes to Andrea Constant, again, we read you some of her victim impact statement. We've heard now from some Cosby accusers who, again, are just starting to really allow this news to sink in that Bill Cosby has been convicted 3 to 10 years behind bars. Rena?
Jerika Duncan. Jerika, thank you so much. Ricky, I want to ask you about that, how Jerika mentioned sort of the witness tampering, the evidence, falsifying evidence that Cosby's side is trying to bring out. Do they have a legal footing there?
Well, I think they have a legal footing on other issues far more than on that issue. There is no question. There is an appellate issue about the question of the admissibility of the tape that Andrea Constant's mother made of a long, and I mean long, phone call that she had had with Bill Cosby after her daughter had told her about part of or outlines of this alleged sexual assault, which now can be called a sexual assault because he has been convicted. Her mother called Bill Cosby. There was a lot of back and forth about what he had given her, what kinds of pills. There was a lot of question about him saying that he was sorry, that he would pay for things in Andrea Constant's life. It was a highly explosive tape recording. So yes, that's an issue for appeal. But there are other issues for appeal that may be far more powerful before an appellate court. You have to remember this. The jurors have said, or some of the jurors have said, the most important issue for them were the words of Bill Cosby from his deposition in the civil suit. So the question is, should that have ever been admitted at all? That's a real issue.
What are you watching for in the coming hours now?
Well, I think that what I'm watching for today and tomorrow is if an appellate court will decide that Bill Cosby is in fact staying in prison during this pending appeal, or if he in fact will be able to get bail and stay at home with a bracelet. That is the biggest decision that will be made. It will be made relatively quickly.
The man known as America's Dad, Bill Cosby, sentenced to 3 to 5 years.
3 to 10.
Excuse me, 3 to 10 years in prison. Are you surprised by today's verdict, Ricky?
No. I think that this sentence ultimately is fair because I look at the guidelines. The guidelines say 22 to 36 months for this crime. 36 months is 3 years. The way Pennsylvania works is he must serve the 3 years, I assume minus some good time, but he must serve the 3 years for all intents and purposes before he is eligible for parole. That's within the guidelines. You cannot quarrel with that. He did not go way below them to give him the benefit of his age and lack of criminal record, and he did not go way above them for the issues involving other women and using the drug to incapacitate them. So I think that he was smart. You can't criticize him for this sentence.
Ricky Kleeman, I want to thank you and Jerika Duncan outside of the courthouse in Norristown, Pennsylvania.